Good morning, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarborough here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. We're going to do the astrology of the week ahead, starting with Sunday, June 20th, and ending with Saturday, June 26th. I wanted to get this out yesterday, but by the time I finished the prep for it, it was pretty late, and I looked like what the cat drug in. So you're getting it a little late, just so, quite frankly, I could look a little better than I did last night. I don't know how much better, but a little better. All right, let's get started. A couple of things I want to just remind us about June. June is the sixth month, of course, and when we add the sixth month to the 5 vibration of the universal year, we get an 11 vibration. 11 is a master number. It is a number of endeavoring to stay balanced, to keep a higher perspective, to cooperate, and in some cases compromise. And I think that there's something that whenever I say the word compromise, I think I like the word co-promise a little bit more. Working, playing with words, sort of a promise to another person that you will consider their perspective. And I think that it's important this month that we do consider all perspectives. Mercury is, the North Node is in Gemini. Gemini is about all different kinds of information. Although Mercury is in Gemini, the planet of information, and retrograde, so we have to keep that in consideration. This week, Mercury will be stationing direct, so things should loosen up a bit when it comes to that, although it is not out of its shadow until July. So while things will start to feel like they're moving forward, and we actually can take some steps forward, I think that we're going to have to still continue to bring all the information in through our filters, and not make any sudden moves, so to speak, sudden on the information, because it's not all, we don't have it all yet. So, all right, so let's take a look at the week ahead. Of course, the last few weeks have been very active. Transformational for some. We just had 2 eclipses. That's always a big deal, right? We've had 2 eclipses so far. And let me just get to the day that I'm looking for here. I apologize. Just give me a moment. Nope. It went a little too far. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Yeah. All right, we're starting right here. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. It's very early in the morning, so actually on the 21st. So I apologize for not getting this out yesterday. So we start with Sunday, the 20th, 2021. Of course, Sunday was the solstice, the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, the shortest day of the year in the Southern Hemisphere. But before the solstice occurred, because the solstice here on the East Coast of the US occurred at 10:32 p.m., so later in the day. But before that, in the day, we had Jupiter station retrogrades. Jupiter is at around 3 degrees of Pisces, rounded off. It's actually 2 degrees some minutes, early 2 degrees some minutes, but when we're using the Sabian symbols, we round them off. And the Sabian symbol for 3 degrees of Pisces is a petrified tree trunks lie broken on desert sand. The power to preserve records of their achievements, which is inherent in fully matured cultures. And so Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Jupiter is the planet where we go out and we explore to understand our place in the world. It is a philosophical energy, Jupiter. It is the natural ruler of Sagittarius and the classical ruler, and to a certain extent, co-ruler of the sign of Pisces. And of course, Jupiter is in Pisces right now. So Jupiter has had an opportunity to sort of dip his toe into the cosmic waters of Pisces. And having Jupiter, the classical ruler in Pisces, and Neptune, the modern ruler in Pisces, it's been in Pisces since 2011. There has been a shift, and I believe in my sense of it and what I feel, a great healing. We have been offered an opportunity to do some really intense healing around what needs to be healed, really. And there's plenty. If you say, well, what is the healing around? Just look around and you will see it's pretty obvious and pretty evident where wounds need to be addressed, wounds need to be understood, and wounds need to be healed. And so Jupiter is going to move back into Aquarius. I believe that's happening in July, to finish up any unfinished work. And then it will come back into Pisces. I believe it's December 30th. So, and it will be there until the beginning of May. So we have about 4 more months, with a little extra, say 4, we'll call it generously 4.5 months of Jupiter in Pisces. Again, that's not going to happen until the end of the year. So between now and then, or from the time Jupiter moves into Aquarius until it moves back into Pisces, we will have opportunities again to sort of dip our hands in a way. The symbol I'm seeing is holy water, like a baptism, a rebirth of sorts. But we have a long way to go before we get there. And we have a very exciting year ahead, as it were. We will continue, this year will continue to have its challenges and its exciting moments and its victories, and also change. Okay, the other thing that happens on the 20th is that the sun ingresses into Cancer. That, of course, is summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere and the winter solstice for our brothers and sisters in the Southern Hemisphere. So every year every year the sun moves into Cancer. The sun in the Northern Hemisphere is at the peak of its power. It has reached the solstice point. Solstice means sun standing still. So it has reached its highest northern declination, and now it will start to move down, and the days actually start to get shorter. In the pagan tradition, this is the time when the oak king dies and the holly king is born. The oak king is born on the winter solstice and dies on the summer solstice, and the holly king is born on the summer solstice and dies on the winter solstice. The oak king is a symbolic of the peak of the sun, right? The rising of the sun, whereas the holly king is the king associated with the rising darkness. And it's not like light is holy and darkness is evil. That's not the energy. The energy is an energy of waxing and waning, of full illumination now, and then full introspection when we have more dark time than light. Because you can't see outside, you must look within. So we are at the height of summer here. So every time the sun moves into Cancer, it moves onto this first degree. On a ship, the sailors lower an old flag and raise a new one. A radical change of allegiance, externalized in the symbolic act, in the symbolic act, a point of no return. And the key word here is reorientation. Now that sounds very like, oh, right, but the solstice is a significant point because we're dealing with the cardinal cross here. We're dealing with the season starting signs. We're dealing with the energy of initiation. And so these first degree of Aries, first degree of Cancer, first degree of Libra, first degree of Capricorn. When the sun changes season, when we change season, the sun is at that point. So it's always has that sort of energy of reorientation. There's always an energy of shifting our allegiances to a certain extent when the sun moves into Cancer. So what I do is I look to see what disposits the sun, right? What is the ruler? Cancer is ruled by the moon. Where is the moon? And the moon is in Scorpio, and it's at 10 degrees of Scorpio here. So the moon in the solstice chart, the Sabian symbol for 10 degrees of Scorpio, is a fellowship supper, reunites old comrades, overtones of human relationship based on a community of work or experiences. Keyword humanitarianism. So the sun moving into Cancer, the solstice chart as it was, the seasonal chart, does influence the season. And so the season goes from the 20th of June until probably, I don't exactly remember when the fall equinox is. We'll call it the 20th of September. So these next 3 months, right, have this energy of the solstice chart. Now, ruled by that Scorpio moon. So we need to dig deep. We need to continue to explore our deeper emotional and psychological underpinnings. We are dealing with our emotions this summer, right? Always true, because for at least the first month of the summer, the sun is in Cancer. So we're always dealing with that anyway. And of course, Cancer is our feelings, our emotions, but it's also our clan, it's our country, it's the land beneath our feet, it's women, it's children, it's the issues of nurturance. This is a time when, and a natural time here, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, when families do get together for things like barbecues and such. And last year, 2020, there was a lot less of that. You know, some people didn't see their family at all. And so this is in its way a time of reunion, a time of reunion. And we will have opportunities to reunite with members of our family and reconnect and reorient ourselves. And remember to remember this is a deep heart and feeling time. And to a certain extent, we need to get out of our heads and we need to move into our soul this summer. So let's look at the chart. Here's the chart over here. And of course, here's the sun at 000000 of Cancer. This chart is, this is for Washington, D.C., this chart. And we have, well, let's see, what's going on here. We have, the sun is making a beautiful supportive trine to that Jupiter that just turned retrograde. When a planet turns retrograde, or when a planet turns direct. There's a period of time when the planet is moving very, very slowly, or seemingly moving slowly. Of course, planets don't change direction. It's just our perspective of the planet that changes, not the actual planet direction. And so we have a lot, this Jupiter in Pisces energy is very big, opportunity to heal. And then we have the sun come in. And then of course, we're going to have the sun make an exact trine this week to Jupiter. So that trine energy of the sun Jupiter and the type of trine that we're looking at has the energy of Leo. It's a self-expressive trine. So it's a very creative time as well as an opportunity for healing. And we have this all summer. The energy of this chart is we feel it all summer. We have Pluto making an opposition to Venus in this chart. It is not exact. We will have the Pluto-Venus exact opposition later this week. We'll talk about it when we get to that day. But this is Pluto and Venus deals with what we value, what's important to us, relationships that are important to us, soul. This is soul stuff because we're dealing with Pluto. It's unconscious desires made conscious through Venus. So something is about to be revealed as to some deeper understanding of love, some deeper understanding of our relationship to others and our relationship to ourselves. And to a certain extent, our relationship to our family, our biological family, and perhaps the family of man, the family of being a human on the planet. So we have that. We also have, of course, in the background, and it's been here now for years and will continue to be for a few more years, is the square between Pluto and Eris. This is one of the reasons why there is so much revolution, why so many people are taking to the streets, why so many people are breaking out. This is a last quarter crisis in consciousness square between two planets that take a really long time to go around the zodiac. It takes Pluto 248 years to go around the sun, and it takes Eris 500 years. In fact, Eris has been in Aries since 1925, and it's still there. So it's very, very slow through Aries. We also have a conjunction here of Neptune and Pallas Athena in this chart. This is compassion and social justice. We have Saturn and Mars coming to. Saturn is moving into an opposition with Mars. And so there's all of this energy of becoming, not quite there, but becoming. And of course, we do have a, let's see, we have Jupiter here. If we widen the orb, we also have a trine between Jupiter, the sun, and the moon. And that's very powerful. That's very, very powerful. And in this chart, we see it in the first house of identity, the fourth house of family, and the ninth house of our beliefs. So this chart also indicates, if I may, as I'm looking at it here, the North Node, which is in a still pretty close to Mercury. Mercury is, both the North Node and Mercury are moving retrograde. The North Node mostly moves retrograde. That's natural for the North Node. And of course, Mercury is still moving retrograde and is actually at its degree of its station here. And actually, yeah, I think it's 17, stations at 17. And the North Node in this chart anyway for the US is in that fourth house with the South Node in the 10th house. And this is really about sort of coming down to the core of who we are. All right. So Monday, so this is today. Today we have the moon, of course, in Scorpio, and we have a beautiful trine between Venus and Neptune. Venus is at 24 degrees of Cancer, Neptune is at 24 degrees of Pisces. This is a waxing trine, so it has the energy of Leo. This is the waxing trine of the synodic cycle between Venus and Neptune that began on March 13th, when these two planets conjoined at 21 degrees of Pisces. This is an important synodic cycle in that Neptune is a higher octave of Venus. So this synodic cycle deals with love, compassion, relationship, idealism, sometimes deception. How do we deceive ourselves? Maybe we're too idealistic, or maybe we're too duplicitous. Maybe we're lying to somebody else. Maybe we're lying to ourselves. These are all kinds of issues that that can come up as these two planets interact with each other. And it sort of depends on whether it's a more challenging aspect or a flowing aspect. But either way, we're still dealing with those themes. And today we have that Leo side trine. So it's very creative. It's very dramatic. It's very, right. And, you know, we're dealing with water signs. So this is about, not just about relationship and idealism and all of that, but it is feeling at the very core of ourselves and an opportunity, quite frankly, for some pretty profound healing, because Jupiter in Pisces brings the energy of forgiveness and the energy of letting go to Venus. So I would call this the healing power of love. And in fact, I'm planning on today, if I can wrangle Michael, to do another episode of the healing power of love. We've had another couple of incidents around here that have tested our theory that love can turn it all around. So we will let you know how that goes today. So Sabian symbol for 24 degrees of Cancer, that's where Venus is sitting, is a woman and two men castaways on a small island in the South Seas. The keynote here is the focalization of complex inner potentialities in harmonic and concrete relationships, interdependence. Of course, that's very much a Venus. That's Venus, what would we call that? That's Venus's wheelhouse, right? It's all about interdependence. It's all about relationship in general, right? With Venus, and then it's on this degree. And then we're dealing with the trine from the higher octave of Venus, Neptune, which is a small island surrounded by a vast expansive sea. People are seen living in close interaction. Again, we have this visual of an island. The need to consciously accept one's own personal limitations in order to concentrate one's energy and to live a centered and fulfilled life, centralization. So one of the keys of living in harmony with others is clued in with this 24 degrees of Pisces. Living in harmony with others requires you to have healthy personal boundaries. Who are you? Knowing who you are. Now, that's an interesting question because that changes through a life. Who are you? Hey, there are certain things that don't change and there are certain things that do change. What doesn't change is at the core of your soul that you are love. That does not change. But how we define ourselves ego-wise generally does change, right? But this is beautiful energy and beautiful symbology, reminding us that we live on an island. The island is the island of Earth in the middle of the sea of stars, and we have to learn how to manage ourselves in order to live in harmony with others. And then be willing to be interdependent. Super independence is the thing that separates us, and to a certain extent wounds us. We have to remember that Chiron is in Aries right now. And yet, people are pushing that. This is my country. This is mine. These are my rights. My, me. And then you have the other side saying, we're all in this together. Both of those things are true. And what we need to find is the balance between those two things. And hence, we're in an 11 month. Now, June is not exactly the easiest month to be balancing because of the eclipses and because of all the stuff going on. But we're evolving, guys. And so we need to endeavor to at least do our best when it comes to this stuff. All right, on Tuesday, the 22nd, the moon shifts into Libra and Mercury stations direct at 17 degrees of Gemini. The Sabian symbol for 17 degrees of Gemini is the head of a robust youth changes into that of a mature thinker. Transformation of physical vitality into the power to build concepts and intellectual formulations through which knowledge can be transferred. Mental metamorphosis, a changing of the mind. For your mind, and the rest will follow, right? Here we can see, this is, let's see, actually, I don't know if I think this is for Washington. It could be for Wareham, but we're not that, the chart isn't that different. This Mercury direct is right here. Here it is stationing within orb of a conjunction to the north node of the moon. We have across from it, conjunct south node of the moon, we have Juno in Sagittarius. Juno is an archetype of relationship. It's also an archetype of a powerful woman. Juno was the wife of Jupiter in the Roman pantheon. In the Greek pantheon, it would have been Hera and Zeus. And she was a co-ruler. She didn't have thunderbolts, as it were, like Zeus did. But she was at least in theory a co-ruler. But of course, in reality, she struggled to hold on to her power. And very often she was seen as a jealous wife. And so that was more of a distortion. But of course, all the, Zeus raped this one and Zeus raped that one and Zeus raped this one, all these little goddesses and nymphs and whoever else he took a fancy to, was really symbolic of the masculine overtaking the feminine at that time. And so now as the feminine rises, all that, the way that it's been is shifting and changing. And that's exciting for the females in the group, I think. All right, so let's see what else, if there's anything else I want to mention about this Mercury stationing. It is in a sextile to Chiron. That's important. It is a sextile of the lines of communication opening. So we'll talk about the wounds around identity, the wounds around war, the wounds around warriors, the wounds around masculinity, and such. Okay, it is also square Vesta in Virgo. Vesta in Virgo is looking for solutions to problems. And so we will continue to endeavor to fix what we perceive as not working efficiently enough. And that may have something to do with medicine and hospitals. And, COVID has certainly exposed the problems that we always knew were there in the healthcare system. And, we will continue to try to our best of our ability, with all the other BS shenanigans that are going on in politics to actually fix that, which is broken. Okay. Wednesday. So this Wednesday, the 23rd, we have the moon in Sagittarius and we have the sun trine Jupiter. Remember I said the sun would be trining Jupiter. It's occurring at 3 degrees of Cancer and Pisces. Now, the Sabian symbol for 3 degrees of Cancer is a man bundled in furs leads a shaggy deer. The keynote here is the need to overcome stagnation and cold during trials of endurance, a testing of the will, Trine that 3 degrees of Pisces, which we looked at before, petrified tree trunks lie broken on desert sand, the power to persevere, to preserve records, of their achievements, which is inherent in a fully matured culture. And then the key word here is indestructibility. Indestructibility. So this points to perhaps some struggles ahead, but that we have the resources available there are certain tenets, there are certain laws, there are certain truths that even the law of man has reflected. The truth is the truth of nature, right? The universal truths, and then the laws of man aren't always aligned with that, as it were, because there was a time when slavery was legal, and of course that is not a natural law, right? All right, so we have access to that. The sun and Jupiter are the two largest planets, stars, actually. They believe Jupiter might be a brown dwarf star, actually. And of course, our sun is a star. So they're the two largest things in our solar system. They take up most of the mass of the solar system. So when they trine or when they connect, everything is big, everything is bigger. So we can expect bigger, maybe not better, but bigger emotions, bigger feelings, bigger things. And also with Pisces in the mix like this, if we look at where Pisces sits on the tree of life, it sits on the path between the forces of nature and the earth. And so this can also be a very, very stormy time, So this energy can manifest itself in some pretty severe weather as well. So that's something we also have to be aware of. We also have on that day, Venus making its opposition to Pluto. Remember, I spoke of the Venus-Pluto opposition. Venus is at 27 degrees of Cancer. Pluto is at 27 degrees of Capricorn. Oppositions bring awareness. So what are we becoming aware of? Well, we're becoming aware of what was, in the case of Pluto and Venus, what was planted at the time of that conjunction. Before we get to the conjunction, let's look at the Sabian symbols for this opposition. We have for Cancer, a violent storm in a canyon filled with expensive homes, a confrontation with a social upheaval demanding a reconsideration of static values. Opposing 27 of Capricorn, pilgrims climbing steps leading to a mountain shrine, the ascent of the individualized consciousness to the highest realization reached by the spiritual leaders of its culture, an upreaching. So the key word for the violent storm is catharsis. The key word for climbing the steps is upreaching, and this is an opposition. Venus is what we value. In Cancer, we value family, we value the land, we value the country, we value that which can sustain us emotionally and physically, that which brings us security emotionally and physically. Opposing Pluto in the sign of power. And of course, Pluto in Capricorn can bring out the power over dynamic that we have. Fascism is a power over dynamic. Father knows best, I can fix it all. You must obey me. That is a Cancer Capricorn energy. And the last time fascism was where it was when Pluto was in Cancer, right, during the 30s. And now we have Pluto and Capricorn on the opposite side in the 2010s, right, 2020s. And we are asking that question again. Those issues are coming up. It's an opportunity for us to let go and move into a different relationship, right? To mature, to become responsible for ourselves so we don't have to look to somebody outside of ourselves to tell us what to do and to tell us what's right. We should have the discernment and the experience to know what's right for ourselves. And to a certain extent, fight for that. But you have to be responsible. So you can't just fight to change things and not be willing to take responsibility. It's just not the way it goes. So here we have the Venus-Pluto conjunction. This is the initial synodic cycle. And it occurred at, it looks like 26, it looks like 26 degrees of, you'll have to, excuse me, I have to look very closely at this to see if it's 25 or 26. It's 26 degrees of Capricorn. Let me read that, 26 degrees of Capricorn to you. So this was the initial Sabian symbol for the conjunction between Pluto and Venus, which is a synodic cycle that deals with power and love and relationship and power over and values and what's important to us at the core of our souls. Okay. Give me a sec here. So 26 of Capricorn, a nature spirit dancing in the iridescent mist of a waterfall, the ability to persevere the hidden, to perceive the hidden. I keep saying persevere, don't I? To perceive the hidden and creative spirit of natural phenomena, occult energy. It says, the consciousness here becomes sensitized to a downward flow of occult energy in its bountiful natural aspect. So the beginning of this cycle required us to realize the power of nature. And so we are going to see the outcome of the power of nature. Another indication that there can be some pretty big natural phenomenon that could happen this week. So keep your eyes open for that. Watch the Weather Channel, take note. Perhaps have they say have water and all that stuff. It's not a bad idea just in case. Keep your eye to the sky with that stuff. Utilize the technology that we have now to know where it's safest to be in case that happens where you live. Now, that's not going to happen where everybody lives, but of course the potential is there. All right. And of course, here is the opposition. Pluto in that first house, Venus in the seventh house. This is all about relationship dynamics. Who has the power in relationships and how do we share? How do we co-promise? Right? Okay. So here we have Thursday, the 24th. We have a sextile between Saturn and Chiron. Now, this is interesting because this is the second of three. The first one occurred on February 9th, 2021. The vibration of that day is a 16-7. That's what these are. These are the vibrations of the day, right? So on Thursday, the vibration of the day is 35-8. 35-8 deals with the sign of Sagittarius. In the tarot, it's the 9 of Wands. the guy, with all the wands, and he's got the little boo-boo on his head, but he is willing to fight the fight. He continues to fight the fight. It's a relentless pursuit of what is right, with that. It's also associated with the sacral chakra, and it deals with healthy boundaries around things like money, healthy boundaries around sex, healthy boundaries, just general healthy boundaries. Do not, this is my boundary, do not pass it, right? 35-8. It's also 8 is a power number. So in order to build power, we need to have boundaries around what it is we're building. If we want to build a tall building, the foundation of the building is more important than anything else. And so the question is, with this Saturn sextile Chiron, what is the foundation? Is the foundation stable? Is the foundation real? Right? And I could go into the politics of that with certain individuals, but I won't. But the foundations are being tested. So we'll see how that goes. On February 9th, there was a 16.7, that was tower vibration. It's also occurring on December 26th. It's a 43.7 vibration that is located on Tree of Life in Bina, which is the place associated with the divine feminine. This is understanding your feelings and utilizing your intuition. And this also associated with the divine feminine. So that's the third of these sextiles. So what are these sextiles about? Well, this is actually part of a synodic cycle that began in 1966. Yes, 66. I was 5 in 66. Some of you weren't even born in 66. On April 12th, 1966, these two planets came together at 24 degrees of Pisces. The interesting thing is the Sabian symbol for 24 degrees of Pisces is going to sound pretty familiar, because it is on a small island surrounded by a vast expanse of sea. People are seen living in close interaction. The need to consciously accept one's own personal limitations in order to concentrate on one's energies to live a centered and fulfilled life. So we're talking about a cycle that began 55 years ago, coming to the sextile point. The sextile is it's a waning sextile, meaning it's that 300-degree sextile, which means we're dealing with the ability for progressive change. We're dealing with Chiron and Saturn. Saturn is an energy of power and how things are structured. Chiron, of course, is the wounds around that. This, to me, it gives us an opportunity to rethink the way that we utilize our power. Is it in a healing way, or is it in a wounding way? And an opportunity to change that and move it into more progressive values. All right, so, all right, this, just ignore that for now. We don't need to see that, do we? 24 Pisces, 24 Cancer. Yeah, let's just not look at that. Okay, I think I made a mistake there. Okay, so here we go. Here's the exact conjunction. We can see at that time we had Chiron conjunct Saturn, but it was also very close to Pallas Athena, the goddess of social justice, and very close to Mercury here. Remember, this was the mid-60s. This is when everything changed. And what changed it was the conjunction between Pluto and Uranus, which is very close here to being exact. Very close to being exact. In fact, I believe it had already made one It had already made one or maybe even two conjunctions already, and it was working on its third exact conjunction. But this is very powerful in this ninth house, right? This is all about changing belief systems as well with this energy here, like this. And of course, at that time, we had Saturn opposite Pluto, which is an aspect that's generally associated with war. The last time Saturn and Pluto opposed was 9/11, was 2009. Yeah, it was 2001. So how do we heal this? And here we have the sextile for June. Where is it? Sorry. This is actually a little small for me. So we have Chiron in Aries, and this time we have Saturn in Aquarius. And Saturn in Aquarius is building the structures to support humanitarian endeavor, right? And so we need to do it. We need to do it. There is a big shift happening, guys. And there is going to be a big shift in the outer world, in the stuff that we see on the news. That is going to shift as well. I don't know how it's going to shift, and I don't know what's going to happen necessarily, but it's going to be a big change. It may not be what you think it is, but whatever happens is happening for the healing and the greater good, for us to wake up, to do it differently, right? How bad and how sad does it have to get before we decide that we're done? We saw that in 2020 with the Black Lives Matter, and we're going to continue to see that as people begin to wake up to the fact that looking at the way they live and that they don't have to live that way. And how's a better way to live? So Thursday, the 24th, we have a full moon in Capricorn. Full moon in Capricorn. This is occurring at 4 degrees of Capricorn, the sun at 4 degrees of Cancer. Full moons are always times of awareness. We are waking up to an awareness. The Sabian symbol for 4 degrees of Cancer is a cat arguing with a mouse. An attempt at self-justification, opposing the Sabian symbol for 4 degrees of Capricorn, which is a group of people outfitting a large canoe at the start of a journey by water. The ability to use natural resources and basic skills in order to achieve group purpose. So this is an opposition between self-justification versus what's good for the collective as we go on this journey by water, journey through the emotions. We are going the flow of evolution, getting in the boat and going along with the flow of evolution. And the other side, the cat arguing with the mouse, justifying that I have to eat you, right? That's the only way we can do it. Whereas on the other side of things, people are cooperating and getting ready for a journey. So that's the opposition. Those are the symbols for this particular opposition, which I think is really quite apt when you think about it. And here we have the sun here opposing the moon. This is for Washington, D.C. It's occurring in the 9th and the 3rd house. And that is, those are the houses associated with the mind. There's the houses associated with the higher and the lower mind, how we think, what we believe. And of course, the North Node is in Gemini and the South Node is in Sag. So we've been struggling with that. We've been working with that energy now for at least a year. So that is, again, sort of highlighted in its way. Let me just see. And of course, we have Jupiter helping things out by being in a, for some reason, I can't find my cursor. Oh, here we go. Jupiter making a trine to that sun and making a sextile to that moon. So Jupiter's helping us out in this situation. All right, let me just see here if there's anything else I want to mention. And of course, this full moon, at least in the United States, for Washington, D.C., the ascendant is Libra, which is about cooperation, And of course, look here on this, in this, I mean, we talked about this opposition, but look how powerfully placed this opposition is placed, with Pluto at the IC and Venus at the MC. This is the most visible, and this is underneath it all. And this is seismic here, guys. This is seismic. This week is very seismic, whether it's actually seismic or it's metaphorically seismic. Things are shaken, and we're getting realizations and realizations and realizations, and Mercury's direct now. So the information coming in is a little less obscure and perhaps a little bit more fact-based, and we're going to start to be moving on those facts. The world is starting to open back up from our 2020 hermitage. And we're going to look around and we're going to see what works for us and what doesn't. And we have to endeavor to change the way that we approach life and how we expend our energy and what we focus on in our life to make it better in whatever way you can. It is a journey that starts within, but ultimately it affects everything without. Okay, Friday the 25th, we have Neptune stationing. So on Sunday the 20th, we had Jupiter station. On the 22nd, we had Mercury station, and now we have Neptune station. And so it's like I was watching, I'm going to borrow this from her because I really liked it. I was watching Ann Ortley with Amanda on Astrology Hub. I know a lot of you watch them as well as me. And the changing of the planetary directions, Anne spoke of it like creating like waves, creating waves, because big things, especially things like Neptune, which is, you know, cosmic consciousness, right? And usually when it changes direction, we don't feel it because it's relatively subtle. But that with Jupiter and with Mercury changing direction and with all the other stuff going on, I feel like there's huge waves, and whether they're metaphorical or actual, and we'll probably have both, that are creating turbulence in the water, and things will pop up and things will go down just like you do in a stormy sea, So perhaps we have to wait before we can truly take action. I think most of the action that we're going to take this week is trying to find that balance. In fact, I did a reading for, I think it was June. I think this was the reading I did for June. And the first card that came up was the Two of Pentacles. And in the deck that I used the Illuminati deck for that. The guy is like, got the Two Pentacles. He's on a slippery rock. There's all this tumultuous sea behind him with the ships coming in, but are they going to hit the rocks? What's going to happen? How do we stabilize ourselves? And of course it was Pentacles. So there's an issue with resources as well. So there's a lot of this. We might even see a lot of ups and downs in the stock market. I think they did some sort of increase in some interest rate or something, and then the stock market went down. The stock market is not the economy, so be aware of that. So when they say, oh, the stock market crashed, most of the time, most regular people don't have to worry about that. Of course, if they have their 401ks in the stock market, it could be a challenge, but I'm not sure how smart that is anyway, after what happened to the boomers, right? Okay. So Neptune stations at 24 degrees of Pisces on a small island surrounded by a vast expanse of sea. People are seen living in close interaction. The need to consciously accept one's own personal limitations, and I may add responsibilities, in order to concentrate one's energies to live in a centered and fulfilled life, interacting with other people, right? 24 degrees of Pisces. That was the degree back in 1966 where Saturn and Saturn and Chiron came together in Virgo. Virgo, is it Virgo? No, Pisces. Sorry, Pisces. Virgo was Uranus and was Uranus and Pluto. But we have this symbol again coming now at a time when Neptune, which rules Pisces, is changing on that symbol. So this is a very important symbol, a very important time. This is one of those watershed, literally watershed moments where everything is going to shift and change. And we have to make sure you're on the right boat. Make sure you have a life preserver on you. Make sure you have enough water and food to get through this journey, because it's going to be a wild ride. But if we cooperate with one another and we work together, we'll be able to get to the other side of this and move to calmer waters. What it reminds me of is, it reminds me of the Six of Swords, right? Moving to calmer waters. So, but right now we're in the boat, and it is rocking and a rolling, guys, rocking and a rolling. All right, so there's also, hold on 1 second. 1 second, guys. I'm so sorry. I do have to take this. I'm not going to take, I'll just leave it. Okay. So there is nothing major happening on Saturday, just some moon stuff, and we'll talk about that when we get there. All right, good. So let's get out of here. I'm going to stop this share, and we're going to do the card reading for the week. So okay, guys, sorry about the focus. Moved. Yeah. Does that help? Oh, I don't want to get too close. So let's do a card reading for the week ahead. We'll just do a truncated, I think we'll do a truncated Celtic cross. And I'm going to be using the Toth Deck. I know, I'm like, why am I doing that? But I'm going to, now that I have it, I'm using it. So now that I've found it, I'm going to use it. I've had it for over 25 years. So so what do we need to be aware of for this coming week? What do we need to be aware of? What do we need to be aware of? I'm sorry about, that's better, right? It's actually a better camera than I had, but it only, there we go. I can see you clearly now. The rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. We'll see. A bright, bright, sunshiny week. Let's hope. The devil. First out. First out. Okay. So we're going to be dealing with issues. Now that's a Capricorn card. The devil card is a Capricorn card. And we have all these oppositions of Venus with Pluto. And so our values are going to be looked at, what's important to us, our relationship to what's important to us, how we get our needs met, per se. And of course, the devil is, sorry, I have an itch and it's driving me crazy, and it's just out of reach. Maybe that's what this week's about, the itch that we have to scratch. So I hate to bring politics into this, but of course this could also be around issues of abuse of power. The devil card. Crossed by the Three of Swords. So there is a betrayal here, a betrayal that's going to bring a lot of sorrow to someone. See what's at the root. The Judgment card. The time is here. The judgment is falling. Judgment is falling. The Aeon card, or this is the Judgment card in the other decks, is an awakening. We are waking up. We are waking up, perhaps to the pain that the way we live our lives cause us. And we don't have to necessarily live that way, because who says? Who says we have to live that way? Who says it's a dog eat dog world? Who says that? I don't know, the people who sell teeth sharpening things, right? So see what's in the past. We had interference. So feeling like we can't take an action, there's too many things in the way. There's all these different variables, interference. This is the 8 of Swords. This is also, right, the card where the woman is tied up with the swords around her. In a way, this is the thoughts that hold us back, the belief systems, the thought forms that keep us imprisoned in the past. In the 7 of Swords, this is interesting because this card keeps coming up in various readings that I've been doing. It's called futility, but I see this, the 7 of Swords, as at the top of the reading, right? As being, it's very evident what has been going on. This is about lies. This is about the shenanigans that are going to be exposed. It's a lot of exposure this week. And the outcome, change of fortune. Wonderful. And underneath it all is the Fool. So as I said, big shifts this week. How is it going to work out? Is it going to be what we think it is? Perhaps. I would guess that something big is coming down when it comes to the Trump organization and Donald Trump and his family. I think some big things are coming down for that, but that may not be the only thing that happens this week. So I will be here with you to the best of my ability, God willing, God is willing, and we will navigate these, dare I call them, treacherous waters together. All right, guys, big changes this week. Have yourself a great day. Like and subscribe, and much love to you all. Namaste.